All right, we are live. I am here today on the pod with Jeff Toler. He is the senior manager of secure space technology, and he oversees global badging operations at Salesforce. So Jeff, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Luke. Excited to be here.
Really appreciate it. Is it 1 o'clock over there in California?
3 o'clock and a chilly 26 degrees in Chicago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Balmy.
Yeah. Expecting a little bit of snow over the next couple of days.
Okay. Nice. Well, thanks for making the time today. Before we get started, I want to try something a little new, and we're going to do a little game of overrated, underrated. So
okay.
I'm just going to give you a word, and you're just going to have to say, is it overrated or underrated? Okay.
Okay.
So one
Sounds
word,
good.
overrated, underrated.
Okay.
All right. So first one, mac and cheese.
Ooh. I would say underrated.
Okay. Underrated. The Super Bowl.
This year, overrated, but typically underrated.
Yeah. Can both teams lose? That's what I want to know.
Or tie. That would be awesome. That'd be just losing, right?
The Grammys.
Overrated.
Yeah, agreed. Country music.
I would say 90s country is overrated. The new stuff probably a little. No, sorry, the other way around. The 90s underrated. Some of the new stuff overrated. Although there's some folks like Luke Combs, Chris Stapleton. I think they're underrated.
We got a guy on our team. His favorite artist is Luke Combs. Like he's always blasting it. So
yeah, great artist.
All right, what about we got two more. Surfing.
Ooh, I'm not gonna knock it because I don't really know. I've never tried, so I would say I'm gonna be impartial on that one.
Okay, and then Tic Tacs.
Overrated.
Overrated, yeah. Okay. Great. Well, yeah, thanks for playing that game. I just a little something to loosen you up, get you in the mode here. And I guess we'll start with our first question. So, when you're not running the global badging office, what do you like to do?
Yeah, I have several hobbies. I play basketball still. I finally getting to the point where I'm starting to realize my age, and I joined a 40 and over league for basketball. So that's been kind of interesting and fun. It's been more of my speed. I can't keep up with all the young guys now. They're a lot quicker than me. They can shoot much further. So yeah, that's one of my passions. I'm big into gaming too. I like strategy games. I think it kind of shows my ability to be a problem solver. Like first person shooters. Not gonna lie, me and my wife like a good brewery during the summer. Being able to hang out in the Chicago summers is always awesome. So we'll hit up a few breweries and drink, some sours or lagers. But yeah, that's about it. Well, and then in the wintertime in Chicago, there's not a whole lot to do outdoors. So typically you're finding things to do inside.
Yeah, I've been to Chicago in the winter. It is frigid for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were a basketball player. I used to play. I played in high school, played a little in college, and have not touched a ball in. I mean, I touched a ball with my son, but I haven't played organized ball in probably 5 years. So
yeah, I have a league. When I first moved to Chicago, as a northern suburb called Deerfield. We played every Saturday morning, and now I finally joined an organized league. It's actually a lot of fun, but I get more bruises now that I think as we get older, we tend to be more physical as players versus, trying to get around people. So I'll have scratches on my back. My wife's like, "You looks like you're getting beat up."
Yeah, man. It's a ton of fun. I got to get back out there. So, okay. I always like to ask people this question because the security industry is so interesting to me. I had no idea it even existed. When I was, in college and even, the last couple of years. So tell me, how did you get started in the security industry?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I never really thought I was going to go this path career-wise. So I used to be a store manager for a retail pharmacy for like 14 years, and I'd always worked side by side with a lot of our asset protection, loss prevention individuals on wide variety of things from workplace violence investigations, cameras, badging, etc. So I'd always partnered with them, but never really thought about going that route. Well, I ended up taking a role in Deerfield at the corporate office of this retail pharmacy and company, and worked in corporate for a little bit. And a job opening had posted for working in essentially like the communications group for the loss prevention team, which was essentially for 10,000 locations. And I think I had like 700 people in the org structure. And so I applied for it and landed the job, and have been in the security industry on and off for 9 years now, I guess. And in between working at the retail pharmacy, I went to go work for a pharmaceutical company doing IT stuff too. So I've always been like really interested in like technology as a whole. And I think security is one of those not stepping stones, but they're intertwined with IT departments more so than a lot of like the operations groups and stuff like that. So it's always kind of drawn me where I can get my hands dirty with technology a little bit, while still, focusing on, securing people and assets.
Yeah. Would you say that some of your IT background and leanings have helped with your role?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Cause you kind of understand, from like an IT group's perspective of like what it takes to accomplish something. And then from the security perspective, from the physical side of it, it's like, we got to make sure that these tools are working correctly so we can get people in, employees in, and they're successful with their jobs. I'm worried about, what might happen if a bad actor gets into the locations or, something to that effect.
Right. Right. Yeah. I've never heard anybody say that having a IT or technical background really hurt them, when it comes to, their security role. So,
Yeah.
that's cool to see. And it probably helps you relate, cause you're bringing projects to the organization that involve IT, and software development. And so being able to speak their language and, understand some of that has got to help. So
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good for the security industry too, right? Like there's been, and especially over the last couple of years, there's really been this convergence between like cybersecurity and physical security, and where it's interlinking is with technology. And so I think we're seeing those kind of merge in the industry. If you go to like some of the conferences, like the ISC West or GSX, they're broadcasting like convergence with cybersecurity and physical security, essentially merging worlds. So it's good to see, and I think those IT elements are what are driving that forward.
Yeah, for sure. So, Salesforce, you guys are a incredible company. You pioneered software as a service. Our software as a service company probably wouldn't exist without Salesforce. So obviously a really cool organization and company. What is it like working there?
It's amazing. Salesforce really, I've been here 2.5 years, and it's all about the core values that they have of trust, customer success, innovation, equality, and sustainability. And I think it really starts with like trust. That's the foundation, like open communication and support for the employees, but then how we're making sure that our customers understand that trust are the number one priority, that we're keeping their data safe. So that's really been great. And then customer success of like driving everything we do. So we're obsessed with helping our customers thrive, right? And then innovation, you're seeing it now with Agentforce and the commercials and the AI enablement. So we're really excited about that. And then equality, making sure that we champion diversity and inclusion, and then finally sustainability. Like, how are we doing our part, to make sure that this world's going to be left in a better spot than we found it.
Yeah. You mentioned the commercials. I've seen, I watch NFL football here and there. I've seen Matthew McConaughey on some of the Salesforce commercials drenched in the rain. So anyways, it's working. You know, the marketing's working.
The team is world class. It's great to see those commercials.
Yeah. So it blows my mind how large organizations are able to maintain their focus on core values, right? The bigger it gets, the bigger the company gets, the harder it is to keep those values at the forefront. So I'm just curious, like what's your experience been of that? Like how does Salesforce do that? Kind of keep those values center stage for the employees?
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts at our leadership level. They talk about it on a daily basis. They live and breathe it, and so having that drive down through the layers, to the individual contributor level, and then helping the individual contributors or the managers understand how the work they're doing is actually feeding those values, right? So I think it's really just how we're telling the story and connecting that all together. It really drives buy-in within the organization.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love to hear that. And I mean, for somebody who's not familiar with global badging, obviously you guys are a software company, you're a global company. What does your day to day look like?
Yeah. Well, just in the badging realm, it's, since we're global, when I wake up in the morning, usually our folks in India are tracking like a case queue where employees are able to open tickets, to kind of resolve some of their issues, or there's new hire badges. So we'll kind of go through some of those pieces too. But I really rely on, my team. So Bobby Patel, who's the leader of this group, has been actually phenomenal about, making sure people are organized. They kind of know what next steps that they need to do to get the job accomplished. And it's really a well-oiled machine right now. And it's how do we take it to that next level, I think is really the vision for us of how we can maybe start to plug in some of our AI agents to help our agent force help with some automation pieces where, we're going to talk about this later with your guys' product, but how we can leverage technology to do some of the work and not necessarily, we're not going to be losing the human element to it, but really supplement the human element and free up people to do more things of like providing customer service. Cause like our badging team is more than just handing out the badges. They're helping people get in and out of the buildings safely.
That's fascinating because with you guys, I mean, I'm not super familiar with the new Salesforce AI agents. I've heard about them. I haven't done any work with them yet. So it sounds like you guys are planning to, use the Salesforce product to increase automation in the badging office. So that along, I mean, are there any other things as you look into 2025, 2026 that are really exciting projects to you, things that you're trying to, improve and drive forward in your office?
Yeah, one of the things we're looking at is the AI piece of it, leveraging Agentforce to allow our employees to talk to essentially one of the agents to be able to resolve any issues. If they lost their badge, for instance, they could type in there, the badge would be automatically deactivated without any human intervention. It'll then send out a queue and go print the new badge and then have somebody program it. So those are things that we're definitely looking to as far as the badging piece of it is concerned for FY26, calendar year 25.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm excited to like link up with you when you guys implement that and just hear how that's going. Cause I think that could drive so much value for the customer who has the badge, right? They're getting a quick, accurate response. And obviously it takes a load of lift, off of your team too. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, they can be spending more time, being in front of the employees, kind of helping them, especially in the onboarding piece of it of like, directing them where to go and helping them get on the floors and, understanding, where our spaces are. Cause, a lot of times we're in shared office spaces with other tenants. And so like showing them, here's our floor sections, here's somebody else's. So we kind of work through those things. So it really opens up the possibility for our team to do other things.
yeah, that's, I think about that a lot with our product, right? Kind of just giving you insight into my world. I think a lot about what could people be doing with their time if they weren't processing photos, right? It's
Yeah.
just, it's such a small, monotonous task. And I'm like, man, there's an opportunity cost, because every time you're doing, whether it's photos or anything else, right? Deactivating badges, any of these monotonous tasks, it's like, man, you could be doing something else that's far more, one, valuable to the organization, but then two, like more life-giving. Who wants
Sure.
to sit there and like deactivate badges, you know? So
Well,
and,
and to your point on this, where on the employee side of the house, right? So if we talk about before remote photo, our team was essentially like a passport line, like it is at the like at a Walgreens or CVS, where you're waiting in line to get your picture taken. Like all the employees are there for onboarding at the same time. You're spending who knows how long, depending on how many employees, 4 or 5 hours taking pictures and then printing them and then handing them out. Where now with your technology, we've been able to automate that, allow the employees to submit their photos in the comfort of their own home. And I know you were able to do some enhancements where you were able to or white out behind people, so now you don't see all this stuff. So they're not having to go stand behind a white wall to take the image. Like that's all that we're giving back to the employees too. Which, by the way, that's our primary responsibility, is enhancing the employee experience. As much as I want to make sure that my team, as the badging analysts, are being efficient and effective too. Really, it's about providing that great service to our employees, and then following up how are my employees more effective and efficient going forward.
absolutely. I mean, 100. There's so many ways you could go with that. I mean, in higher education, that's where we started, and it's students. Their first day of school, they're so excited to meet their friends, experience the campus, and then they're stuck in line, waiting with an iPhone in their pocket for somebody else to take their ID photo.
Yeah,
And I mean, same for employees, right? I got to drive a couple hours, wait in line, like you said, passport line, and just sit there and wait for someone
yeah,
to take my photo. And for the employees, like you're paying them a lot of money, like they're on the clock to sit in that line and get their photo taken. So and meanwhile, they could be what? Developing code, developing, agents for Salesforce, you name
yeah.
it.
Absolutely. Or I mean, if especially new hires too, right? Like that first week is really important. That sets the stage for the rest of their career at
Yeah.
Salesforce too. So making sure that they have like the best possible experiences is our highest priority for my team.
That's a great point. And I think my view of the security industry is there's definitely been this shift in, not only do we have to keep this organization secure and safe, we got to keep the bad guys out, right? But we need to focus on the experience, right? Because there's a cost there. Usually more safety equals a crappier experience.
Yeah.
Well, can we find a middle ground, right? Or can we do both? And how do we do both? And I think those are the really interesting conversations that are happening in the security industry right now. Like, how do we make the experience for these employees top notch? And I love that Salesforce is leading the way when it comes to employee onboarding.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. So, obviously, with remote photo, making a big purchase of any kind, there's a lot to think through. There's a lot of variables to consider. So what kind of hesitations did you have before signing up? How, take me into that process for you.
Yeah, I mean, to be frank, this was before I took over the team. I think that they started looking at your product, but based on my knowledge, is that it was really a manual process too. And I think for the team, they were looking for a solution that wasn't um, just one sided of like, this is what remote photos providing you. You go and figure out how to tailor it to your needs, right? it sounded to me like whenever they were kind of looking at who to go with, and which, by the way, Color ID has been a huge partner of ours to help, build that partnership with you. But it was a collaboration of like, hey, this is what we have out of box. What do you all need to make this tool a lot better? Like Layman on our team, my team, Bardo, Brian. I got a bunch of shout outs I could do, Mike, but they said that a lot of times they were giving you guys feedback, like one, which was like pretty simple ask of having the outline of the person on the frame so that people knew where to stand was an ask of theirs. And they said within, a couple of weeks, you guys were able to implement that, which was huge for us.
Yeah, it's been really fun to work with Layman and Biardo and you and just in the team. And Color ID has been amazing the whole way through. Couldn't have done it without them either. But it's the relationship isn't transactional, right? It's a partnership, and your feedback has been huge in developing a better product for you guys, because that's one of the things, like, man, we could sit here behind our monitors and write code that we think is cool, or we can talk to our customers and be like, what do you want? What's going to be valuable for you in your day to day? So that's really cool. And I don't know if you had a chance to talk to the team, but what was their initial reaction, right? They go from lines of employees out the door, waiting for an ID photo, probably frustrated, a little angry, like, why am I doing this? To now they have this remote photo capture experience. So what was the team's initial reaction to the remote photo solution?
Yeah, I think it was excitement. I think you figure when we signed the deal with you all, and this is obviously still before my time because I've only been with Salesforce a little over 2 years now, but I think they were just coming out of COVID too. So the offices were beginning to open up. Employees hadn't been into the office for, a couple years. And so they, think there was some fear, like everybody was going to come to the office at one time to try to pick up their badges. And I think us leveraging your product had allowed the team to, like, one, we could spread out the work globally, right? Because it wasn't one central location that was doing all the work. So I think there was some relief there, and we were able to really ramp up and get people their IDs and their get their photos and get them their employee IDs so they can get in and out of the offices seamlessly. So there was definitely a ton of excitement.
And how important is it for the employee to get their badge quickly in that like, could you walk through that? Like, what does that onboarding experience look like, and when do they get their badge? I'm just kind of curious what that process looks like.
Yeah, they usually have a 1 day of like a remote onboarding session, and then day 2 is when they'll head to the office and they'll receive their badge walking into the office. So it's pretty seamless, and I think getting your badge should be one of those, I hate to put it this way, but like an uneventful event, right? Like if it becomes an eventful grabbing your badge, and that means that we're probably not prioritizing, right? Like getting your laptop, opening your laptop, going through your benefits, like, hey, these are all the things that Salesforce has to offer, should be priority, not getting your ID badge just to get into the door. So I think a lot of people like to see their name on the badge, and that means that you're like an official employee too. But I'd rather that be like the second thought on their minds as they start their day 1 in their journey with Salesforce.
Yeah, that's funny you say that. I used to, back when I was doing a lot more demos of our product, I had just finished, I used to work at this restaurant in Columbus, Ohio called the Refectory. And it was a 5-star restaurant. And I was a server assistant, not a busboy, a server assistant. Very important distinction there. I was basically a busboy. And, oh, doggy joined. That's awesome. How many do you have? A few dogs, or?
Yeah, I have one, and my wife doesn't realize I'm on a podcast. Maybe I should shut the door.
These are the fun things that make it interesting. It was so funny. The last podcast that I did was with Angie Barnes, who's a CRO I think it's Evelyn now, but there was this fly that kept like literally like buzzing around her face. I could almost hear it through the microphone. And I was like, let's pause. You kill that fly and then we'll restart. So, anyways, oh yeah, serving. So I was working at this refectory restaurant, and like I had to wear a tuxedo and a nice shirt. Like, I mean, I was decked out. Like I looked the part,
Nice.
and I would say things like "at your leisure" and "my pleasure" and all this stuff. So, but my job as a server assistant was to be forgettable, like almost like a ninja, where you didn't even know I was there. And that is how I described our product. Like, we want to just be we just want it to work. We want to be in the background. We don't want it to be an event to get a photo taken. Because to your point, it's like, if getting a badge, getting a photo is an event, something bad probably happened. Like, you just want it to work and you want to get your badge and move on to the exciting things of like meeting your new coworkers and hearing about the benefits. And I totally resonate with what you're saying there.
Well, and for like our leadership, and they've been very supportive of this too. Is in the moment we don't, we want to be like behind the scenes, but like making sure that I give a call out to Bobby and the entire team. Like, we have a customer service survey that goes out like after our badges or like those tickets are resolved, and I don't know how you get much better than like 4.85 out of 5 on these surveys. And I mean, there's hundreds of these surveys that are getting done. And so that's what we finished last year with. And they're turning around these tickets and getting people badges in less than like 24 hours typically. So like, it's great work that they're doing. And I want to make sure, like, from the security industry side of like, we need to celebrate those kinds of wins, because those folks that are behind the scenes that are doing the day-to-day, like, keep the lights on type of work, sometimes they're not always recognized in that light. So making sure that, they're rewarded and recognized for it, I think, is huge.
Absolutely. I totally agree. There's so many people, like you said, behind the scenes that are just making things happen. Like, I think of, there's somebody in our team, April, and she's done everything here. She's been customer support. Does admin and finance. She's doing a lot of assistant work for me now. And she's in the background, just scheduling this meeting, taking care of this thing. So that's really cool. And, Jeff, I appreciate your time on the podcast. Thanks for being here. I like to kind of end with, a recommendation from you. So if you have like a podcast, book, movie recommendation, any of those will do great. Just something for the audience to check out.
Oh man. I don't know that I have anything personally that I'm doing. Yeah, I don't got anything for you now, so put me on the spot here, but
that's all right. Hey, that's all right. If something, when we post this, sure, you can comment, on there and give people your recommendation. So
yeah, sounds good. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Jeff.
Yeah, appreciate it, Luke.